Hey peeps, today we'll talk about the Ultimate Tournament event, and the video will be focused around free-to-play players, but of course everything said is applicable for pay-to-win as well. So let's first say a few words about the event itself. It starts every 2 weeks and it's divided into two phases, regular season and playoffs. We also have 4 different leagues which differ reward-wise, and also the range of kingdoms that will be matched up in a group. Players choose 3 offensive and 3 defensive army setups and fight against each other to gain points in the ranking. And at the end of the regular season, the top 16 in the ranking proceed to the playoffs, where they fight in a bracket to determine a winner. It's simple enough, and you can read the rules for more details if you're not familiar with the event. Now into the tips. The first point I have to talk about concerns the league level selection at the start of the event. I've seen countless times people going into lower matchmaking than they should. For example, T5 accounts in Bronze League. This is just absurd. Such a move isn't good neither for the T5 account nor the people in that league. And in this particular example, of course the big account would get the first spot at the end, but they won't get even close to the rewards that they would have gotten if playing in the right league for them. The thing is that the best rewards for a league are almost the same in quality as the worst rewards in the next league. And if you've unlocked a new league, that should almost always mean that you'll get into top 200 in that new league, therefore you'll get better rewards. Of course, I should mention an exception that is connected to the Diamond League. If you manage to reach it, try it a few times and see if you'll be consistent in getting to top 200. And if you are, stick with that league. If not, you can drop back to GoT. The next thing I just have to comment is the deployment selection. A lot of people are selecting a different troop type for each army, and that's just not optimal for most accounts. Just an example, why would you bring in infantry that has 350% attack instead of cavalry that has 850%? That doesn't make any sense. I know that some of those people have the idea to be able to counter other players like that, but in reality they'll succeed in a really small percentage of the battles. It's a much better idea to focus on your best troop, on bringing your best troops, even if it's a single type. If you look at my current setup, each of my armies consists only of spears, and that's because my spear stats are better than my other stats. Of course, I have to note that this doesn't mean you should go with one type armies. You can go with 2 types if your stats are appropriate. For example, if your infantry health is high and your spearman attack is high, you can go with 20% infantry as a meat shield in the front and 80% spears in the backline as damage dealers. It's perfectly fine. While we are on the deployment topic, let's talk about the commanders for a bit. If you have a lot of commanders that are maxed out, then sure, you have no issues while drafting your setup. But what should we do when our commander selection is a bit more limited? One of the armies would be our go-to PvP army, but the other 2 deployments could be a problem. The simple solution that I'm using is based on 3 factors: troop type attack, total attack, and deployment size increase. Those are the 3 things that you should be looking for. If you have a commander that gives your troop type more attack, or a commander that gives total attack, you should be picking them. The exception is when you have a total attack commander, for example, but they are at a lower level, let's say green. In that case, it would be much better to use a GoT commander that doesn't complement your setup in any way, just for the extra deployment size. In a lot of cases, 20k more troops would be better than having 4 or 5% on your total attack. The next tip is about keeping track of each player's troops and what they use. First, you can click on the player's profile by clicking on the magnifying glass and see if they have their battle gear on. And by their battle gear, you can determine what troops they are using. In this case, it's infantry. And of course, you won't always get this information. Sometimes they will be in farming gear, but it's still worth a shot to check. The second thing is to build the habit of checking your battle record frequently. The idea is to know which people you can actually beat and which you can't. And since all the people in the group are the same for the season, after a few days you have a record for more people and you have a better understanding where you can win and where you can't. This tip is also applicable in the playoff stage. You can check other players' equipped gear and you can also check the results from their previous battles after the first round has concluded. And the final tip for this video is closely connected to the previous one. It's to avoid getting scouted. If you're not planning on doing any PvP or events while Ultimate Tournament is up, don't hold on to your battle gear so other players won't be able to know what you're running. You can have your rebel gear on, or your research, training gear, it doesn't matter. You can have a non-PvP commander as Lord as well, or anything similar as long as it gives less information to the opponents. As the second part to this tip is that you can pretend to be running something else. You can have gear for another troop type that is not your main one, just to confuse people that are scouting you and to kind of force them to make a mistake within their attack. Pretty much those are the tips that I had prepared for you people. If you have any other tips, you can leave them down in the comments. I hope you enjoyed the video, and until next time.